Everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Dash Rendar. Today I am going to be doing kind of a hybrid fitness / archery video. So when I polled everyone, it seemed pretty split down the middle. So I wanted to try and go into the back routine that I use in order to draw these bows. Kind of what my mindset is, how I do that, how I train for that, the results that I get and the results that I'm going for. Because I'm not necessarily going for that aesthetic bodybuilding look. I think a lot of bodybuilders have commented like, your lower back's super small. And it's like, well, yeah, that's not necessarily needed for what I'm trying to accomplish. So I have a lot of development on my upper back, on my upper shoulders and things, because that's gonna take the toll of what I'm trying to do, which is be a human ballista. That other part, the lower part of my back and everything, I'll show a couple of little shots of it. It's not gonna have that same shape and thickness as like a bodybuilder because first of all, I don't care. And secondly, it's just like, it's a byproduct of what I want to do. I don't need to have that thickness. I just want to have strength so I can literally be a human crossbow. Almost all the time it looks like I'm out in the back, pristine conditions, weather's beautiful, and I'm just loosing all my arrows out there. But in reality, most of my shots are done in here in the garage. I have it all set up, and in the back that just leads to the field. So really, it's just, that's the repetition and the time spent. And a lot of times I do film myself and then I'll watch other fantastic archers like Joe Gibbs. He's kind of like my gold standard, my hero. And I'll see if I'm replicating the movements, trying to refine those little bits here and there on that draw, because while strength is a huge component, form is another one that's gonna make all the difference. So I spend most of my time in there just shots after shots. I always start with a 130-pound bow, work my way up to the 150 and get loose, and then just get those times in there. So I try to probably do 30, 40 shots a day just in the garage, especially if I can't go out and shoot. As far as non-bow exercises, I think are important. I've kind of touched on this on a previous video, but I use a lot of bands. And so this is kind of like a band resistance trainer for bows. So it's got different strengths on it. You know, you can have the lightest one here, and that's just a super duper light pull. You can add, you know, the red one in, that's supposedly like 100 pounds, they say, but it doesn't really feel like it. I feel like it's probably like 80 maybe. And then I added a green one on there myself, just to try to give a little extra resistance on it. So this is something that's great to do if you're just watching TV, just kind of getting that motion down, trying to practice that pull-up type motion. And that's the big thing, is that that's where it's going to be coming from. That strength is going to be pulling back and pushing out as you're going. So this is a really good way to stabilize, because the other thing that takes a lot of damage when you're doing the bow is that left shoulder. So you may not necessarily think it, but one of the things that takes the largest impact, especially for me, and fatigues the fastest, is this muscle right in here. You're holding up the bow and it's trying to push in on you. That's gonna take an inordinate amount of strength to stop that from happening. So this muscle here on the body is the one that develops, I think, the most for me. And I need to train the most, because once it pushes into the body, you need to be able to resist that from crunching in on itself. There's even a couple little stories I've heard of kids when they were younger having to hold up heavy sticks for a long period of time just to start to train that muscle right in there. So because of that, I tend to try to do forward lateral raises, side lateral raises, and then things that will stabilize that. Planks and push-ups I do a lot of as well, because that's gonna activate a lot of that frontal shoulder area. Excuse me while I get my kids. See a little bit here too as well. But when I'm starting that, when that resistance is coming on that arm, but here as well, I'll try to show. But when the bow is coming and that resistance is pushing against you, that whole lock right there, that whole part of the body needs to be super duper strong. And I feel that more than anything else, more than the right side when I'm holding a bow. If I'm not strong enough, that's what tends to collapse before the draw does. So I've already done a little bit of video on the weight day. It's all very simple, but the rest of the week when I'm not doing that, I'm doing a lot of pull-ups. I do wide grip pull-ups. I do close arm pull-ups, things like that. Just anything to try and strengthen up that motion there, because that's where a lot of that's coming from as you're coming down into that seated draw position. And so that's basically the way I develop my back. And again, it's all just trying to maximize potential for a sport and that's kind of the result that I got. It's not gonna carry across for everyone. Obviously it shows more because I'm just generally leaner. There's, you know, better ways to maximize back and muscle growth that are out there. But for me, again, it's all just about trying to get stronger for the bow.